OHS with some trickery. It's a double pass from Jalen Jones to Brennan Thompson and back to Jones, who has a convoy in front. He doesn't even really need it. He's in for the touchdown, 15 yards, and a shimmy to celebrate 7-0 OHS. Now the Bulldogs need an answer. Their opening drive, it's Stroman Bridges calling his own number. He rolls into the end zone, a little flip to finish it, 14 yards on the touchdown run for Bridges. A two-point conversion made it 8-7 MHS. Next drive for OHS. It's Ivan Carrion behind Jalen Jones, helping him get in the end zone on the quarterback sneak. Just a mass of humanity. And the Broncos retake the lead 14-8. And then on the next drive for Midland High, Mecky McCoy gets the carry, and you know the rest. 34 yards untouched. It's 16-14 Midland High before a late field goal by Jacob Pornan made it 17-16 Broncos at the half. All right, here with Midland High starting quarterback Stroman Bridges. And Stroman, you guys feel like you've been knocking on the door these last couple weeks after a couple close losses. How satisfying is this win for you guys?
I think it's real satisfying for us because we've been working there. We've been going to practice every week. We try to make ourselves better, and it finally paid off for us after a lot of tough nail biters.
Yeah, so MHS kicking in the door, getting their first district win of the season, 41-31 over OHS tonight. Strong second half for the Bulldogs, outscoring the Broncos 25-14. And so, yeah, really a tremendous night for that program, getting on track. Meanwhile, the Broncos are on life support at this point. But MHS getting that first district win, huge for them. They took care of business tonight, winning a shootout at Ratliff Stadium, Jenna.
Hey, thanks, Tyler. So just like he said, OHS still in that hole now at 0-3, and Midland High getting that first win. All right, now on to the next 6A contest that is located here at home. It's Midland Legacy and San Angelo Central over at Astound Broadband Stadium. This one was marked as a potential turning point for the Rebel season. They had the win against Permian last week. Did they keep it going, Jason?
Oh, Jenna, you better believe that Midland Legacy kept it going this week against San Angelo Central. We had ourselves a good old-fashioned West Texas offensive shootout today, as we had nothing but offensive bombs, long touchdown passes, long offensive runs, and by the halftime, we had ourselves a very nice score. Speaking of a halftime, let's take a look at those first half highlights, shall we? Midland Legacy looks to keep the momentum up after a strong win against Permian last week, this time going up against San Angelo Central. Now after a Bobcats fumble on the opening drive, Zeke Luna, wearing the Jake Power number, finds a hole, tells a man to get off of him, and runs all the way into the end zone for a quick 6 points. Rebels want to add on. Marcos Davila looking to pass, finds Aiden Serrano in the end zone for another touchdown. Legacy up 14-0. Back in the red zone, Rebels want some more. Davila Serrano connection worked before, so they'll dial it up again for a second touchdown pass. Midland Legacy was up over San Angelo Central 21-13 after the first quarter. Well, Zeke Luna had himself quite the ball game today. He ended today's game with 4 touchdowns, but you can't discount Marcos Davila and Aiden Serrano. All those wide receivers and the quarterback looking very good today in that 56-29 victory for Midland Legacy. They are now 4-4, right back at 500, and right now they look like they could be a very good chance at defending their championship, the division title they won last year. Jenna, we're going to go back to you right now.
Boy, howdy, Jason. It looks like that was a great game to witness. The Rebels getting back on track. And as always, we'll hear from Coach Hartman later this week. But it's game time, so you know we have all of the 6A action from those out of town, even those out of town. And like this matchup, Permian and Friendship. All right, well, this was a big game for the Panthers. Since the Tigers hold one of the only unbeaten records in district, and it was all Friendship early. Tiger QB Hudson Hutchinson decides to keep this one for himself on the first drive to go up 7-0 after the made extra point on the onside kick recovery. It leads to more offense for Friendship. This time Hutchinson finds his receiver Leighton Stone for a huge link up to go up 14-0. And Permian did do a little something on the attack. It's Justice Lara on the ground and pound game to put them in a position to go 14-7 in the first quarter. Well, look at that. Permian came out and actually won that game when it was all It was all Tigers in that first quarter. Look how things can change on a dime. And now we're going to go over to the private school ranks. Midland Christian welcomes Fort Worth Christian for its final home game, and our Game Time reporter Marcus Risen went out to MCS earlier today and took a look at their pregame festivities.
Injuries are the worst nightmare for any athlete.
I started playing basketball when I was younger, and then 8th grade I fractured my L5 vertebrae in my spine, and I couldn't play anymore.
It can be a confidence shaker, going from being able to play your favorite sport to being bedridden and not knowing if you'll ever be the same.
It's indefinite. As far as I know, I won't be playing any sports.
But some people take advantage of it.
Welcome back, Mustang fans, to Mustang Alley here. We have Game Day Live brought to you by Black Quail Apparel.
Meet Mason Vandergrift, a junior at Midland Christian High School.
Looking to go 2-1. I do some of the production. So production truck is what we use. We live stream our games. I get to do some graphic design for the school, and I get to do a little bit of everything. I'm also a basketball manager, that's where I started and got into this. I know it'd mean a lot to the senior class to get another home game, of course, but if this is their last, then it's special.
So a few years ago, we started a pregame show here at Mustang Alley. We're right outside of Gordon Archery Field. So before home football games, we'll get out here and do a live pregame show. We bring different guests on. A few years back, we had a group of kids that were really interested in learning about media and film. We ended up creating a class for media. And in that class, we really, Mason kind of said it, we try to tell the story. We try to find stories and try to tell them in a fun way.
One student, Mason, stood out to Langford.
And we noticed, he was kind of going above and beyond. And he ended up being helping out the second half of the season with the varsity, just because he was just such a good hand and was doing a lot of good things.
Mason is now one of the main hosts of MCS Game Day, being able to interview players, coaches, and other cool people on a weekly basis. He's doing all this at 16. It shows that even though one second you might be thinking your future is bleak, the next can be hopeful. And another opportunity may show up, maybe even better than the first.
On Game Day Live, brought to you by Black Quail Apparel.
All right, a great story out of MCS. Now it's time to see how the Mustangs performed on the field. It was senior night over at Mustang Stadium, and the team wanted to show out for the home crowd for one final regular season game at home. MCS got to work early on the defensive end with this near INT for Case Cole. Then on the flip side, QB Blake Pruitt using his legs to put the offense in a pretty good spot for this connection between Pruitt and his tight end Will Schlomer for 6 and the lead in the first frame of action. All right, well, we've got you covered on some great games so far. We're not done just yet. Coming up, we got McCamey versus Wink, followed by Big Spring and Lakeview. All that coming up after the break.
We're the Mustangs from Midland Christian, and you're watching Game Time on News West 9. Let's go!
Thank you. Mic check on air and mic check on air and mic check, mic check, mic check.
Welcome back to Game Time. This high-powered night still has a ton of action to cover, and for that we're going to turn to a special guest. You've seen him before, I promise, for more scores, highlights, and interviews. That's right, Aaron Gelvin is back in the studio for us with all of that and to fill us in on what you got.
Hey, Jenna, that's right. And how about this matchup we had tonight? The 6-1 McCamey Badgers visiting the undefeated and 7-0 Wink Wildcats. This one featured two excellent quarterbacks with McCamey's Matthew Rosas and Wink's Cannon Gibson. If you cut open their hearts, you got a dog in both of them, I promise you. And the Wildcats, they've been winning by over 37 points per game over the 7 wins they've got. But McCamey, they haven't lost since September. Games like these are what makes West Texas football special, and let's see how it played out. And look at this beautiful shot as we open things up on a gorgeous night in West Texas. And McCamey's Aiden Torres going to run the ball into the end zone along the left end and tie this game up early at 7 apiece. And then it's that bad man, Matthew Rosas, taking the snap and sweeping left into the promised land to give the Badgers the lead. Then it's Torres through the air, this time hitting Braxton Babb for the score. And McCamey extends their lead out to 2 scores. This one got even more fun, though, in the second quarter as Wink QB Cannon Gibson up the gut for the touchdown to get the Wildcats closer. And then Cannon Gibson showing off the cannon as he hits his receiver, Jordan Talley, for the touchdown. Wink trailing 21-19 at the half, and this one was won by the Wink Wildcats 42-28. They keep the perfect season alive. Stay tuned for overtime. We will have an interview with the head coach of the Wink Wildcats. Don't want to miss that. And now we move on to Big Spring, where we find an interesting Steers team. They started 4-1, but they've lost 2 straight, and Cannon McWilliams' team needs to get back on the offense back on track. They hosted the Lakeview Chiefs tonight. Now the Chiefs, they've lost 4 straight and have had a poor past month offensively. Let's see if Big Spring can get right at home tonight. Well, the Steers were 4-3 coming into tonight's game, and they've got 2 more important ones on the horizon, so a win tonight was going to be crucial. Quarterback Gavin Padron on the swing pass to Kavion Ford, up and over the defense. Hello, top plays, and Ford was a big presence for the Big Spring offense tonight. To that point here, he takes the ball around the right side and in to break a scoreless tie and put the Steers up 7-0. Ford was very tough to tackle, and the Chiefs didn't know what to do with him all night in this one. Defense was the story of the rest of the first half as both teams had their miscues offensively. A miscommunication here leads to a sack for Big Spring, and they took that 7-0 lead into the locker room. Your final in this one, the Steers get back in the win column with a 21-7 victory. And now let's move out to Monahans, where the Lobos had been on a roll. After an 0-3 start to their season, they had won 4 straight coming into tonight. They've averaged over 35 points per game in the win streak, and Chino Navarrete is fresh off of our Player of the Week honors. They had a great win over Fort Stockton last week, and we're looking to keep the good times rolling. The Lobos were back at home tonight after beating Fort Stockton on the road last week. Early in this one, the punt goes over the head of the FABENS punter, nearly a safety, but it would set up Monahans an excellent field position, and the handoff here goes to Aiden Salcido, and he gets in for the touchdown. That would put the Lobos up 7-0 early, and Monahans far from done offensively in the first half as Navarrete going to hand off to Maclay Ortega, who will sprint down the sidelines. Nice job there staying in bounds and gliding to the end zone to put the Lobos up 14-0. Nobody stopping that Monahans offense right now, certainly not FABENS. More good stuff from the Lobo run game as number 4, Cole Pittman, pushes his way into the end zone. Monahans up 20-0. 14-0 after that first quarter. They would go on to win at home by a score of 61-0. Absolute domination. And coming up after the break, we'll take a look at some more highlights as we check in on the Stanton Buffaloes and the Coahoma Bulldogs. Stay tuned for that next.
We're the McCamey Badgers, and you're watching Game Time on News West 9.
Hey Elizabeth, what I'm gonna do is for these highlights, I'm just gonna I'll raise my hand and I just wanted to stop because we are over 26, but we need to do these highlights and the next ones. So,
We can kill scoreboards too, she says.
yeah, let's kill scoreboards.
45.
Sorry for the intensity. We're doing great though. Marcos might be pissed at me, but that's okay. He was not happy when he found out we were doing a live interview yesterday, so.
30.
30. I gotta go to the break. Okay. It's fun. Okay, we've got one more game for you tonight, then we'll make our way over to the top place chair. It's Coahoma who played Stanton to shake up the district. The winless Buffaloes came into this one with a chance to get out of the basement of their league, and unfortunately that's not what would happen in this one. It was all Coahoma. The Bulldogs on the rushing attack to get things started, to steamroll on the ground. It's Jaden Vineyard with the carry from 5 yards and the score. Right when the Buffaloes were working on sustaining a drive, Billy Bailey and the defense who snatches the ball out of the air and takes it down the field. It's back to the Bulldogs, and this perfectly placed pass by Boyd Cox right into the arms of his receiver, Austin Perkins, on the end of that one, right into his hands, and it was all Coahoma in that one. And coming up, we have our top plays. It's the best of the best. You're going to get a chance to vote later tomorrow, so stay tuned.
We're the MIDLAND Bulldogs. You're watching Game Time on News West 9.
Hey, 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 hey.
Well, we've seen a ton of highlights. Now it's time to decide what teams and players stood out among the rest. That's right, it's top plays. Be sure to vote on my Twitter page, @AlikeJenna. You see it there for your favorite tomorrow morning starting at 8:30. All right, let's just get right into the action. All right, we're going to start off with this bomb from dynamic duo Cannon, Gibson, and Jordan Talley in the end zone for 6. Next up, it's the ground game for Legacy. The offensive line opens up a massive running lane for Zeke Luna, who breaks tackles and finds his way to the end zone. And it's a little trickery over at OHS. Jalen Jones throws the ball, and then he gets it right back. And then look at this. He finds a running lane. Those offensive linemen are doing their best, and that will get them on the board over at Ratliff. Over in Big Spring, it's a big leap from Kavion Ford, who gets up and over his defender for an eye-catching run after the catch. Finally, it's a defensive play from Coahoma. It's the swooping grab from Billy Bailey, which translates to an INT. Well, that wraps up game time for week 9. It's now time to tune into overtime for extended coverage. You'll be on in just a minute on our app and our website, so make sure to just flip over to your phone rather than your TV to catch us there, and we'll see you then.